Kevin Cote and Jacqueline Dahl, thank you very much for being with us today. Question for both of you, and Kevin, I'm going to come to you first. Where are you both? First of all, give us a sense of how you've styled your home offices. And let's inject a bit of positivity early on. What's the one thing that you're actually loving about lockdown life?
Sure. So I'm in the Bay Area, outside of San Francisco, and Facebook has several offices in the Bay Area, and so I get the advantage now of not having to commute every day. That's been a benefit, and what that means is, for me, I get to spend a lot more time with my family, with my wife and two kids. I have an 8-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter. So just being more and more involved in seeing them on a day-to-day basis. It's definitely been challenging homeschooling them and helping my wife with the day-to-day of figuring out what their coursework is for the day. But I listed myself as the PE teacher and the part-time math teacher. But it's been fun to see them, how they learn and that whole process. So I think just the increased family time has been a big benefit.
And Jacqueline?
I am currently in Scottsdale, Arizona, where we're hitting a solid 104 degree Fahrenheit this weekend. So not ideal, but we are at home. Things are starting to open up here, which is quite different than what's happening in California. But I am work from home regularly, so this is pretty normal for me. I'm typically on the road nonstop, so this is what's not normal for me, that I haven't been on a plane in several months. But I think the positive for me is, much like Kevin, that this is the first time in a long time that my husband and I have been together for a consecutive period of time. He travels for his job, I travel for my job, and we calculated, I think, after like week 3 that this was the longest consecutive days that we had spent together. So it's a positive for me, and definitely experiencing actually being newlyweds for the first time. So, but it's been great.
Glad to hear that that's a positive and not a negative, Jacqueline. You really find out whether you like your other half during this crisis, don't you?
Yeah.
Jacqueline, we'll come to you for the next one. You represent a host of major sports stars, household names across many different sports. But one of them that everyone watching this will no doubt know is Patrick Mahomes, breakout NFL star, Super Bowl winner just this February, although it feels like it was at least a year ago. For Patrick, or for the quarterback of the Super Bowl winning team, this period, this kind of off season, just after they've won, would be business time. This is time to kind of cash in and do a lot of sports marketing activity, I suppose. Has that been the case during this crisis? How has COVID affected your activity with Patrick?
I'm going to answer that as soon as I close my door, because my dog just opened it.
Okay.
So that we can start off on the right foot here, because I know this is recorded. Okay.
What's your dog's name, Jacqueline?
Rookie. Fitting, right? Sports family.
That's good.
Golden Retriever, just the all-American package. Yeah, so it's certainly been unique, in speaking with other agents who have kind of gone through the process of representing a Super Bowl MVP, and their excitement for me of what this offseason could look like. And it's like, all right, hit the ground running. You're going on the victory lap, and, all these opportunities that are going to come about. And then, it was, I would say, the last trip we made after him winning the Super Bowl. We had a couple of different activations, whether it was the Super Bowl parade, he had a trip to Vegas, and then we went to the NBA All-Star game. And that was really the last trip that we were able to accomplish before things really shut down. So typically this time of year, throughout the football season, he's in game mode and I'm in planning mode, and I am putting together a full off-season schedule, planning his number of partner activations and shoots and events like NBA All-Star and events like the Masters and Kentucky Derby, all these things that have been on his bucket list of, what he would want to be doing this off season. But the big thing, and obviously the contractual obligations being a number of those shoot days, we've had to take a very strong shift in how a lot of these things can get done. Fortunately for us and for Patrick, he has built a really strong base in social, and that has become pivotal in this time right now of how we can activate with our partners. And that's kind of really the basis of what I've built my business off of. Traditionally in the past, an endorsement deal, a long-term endorsement deal might be one shoot day, 2 appearances, a signing, and a very, very simple outline. Whereas now, I just hired our videographer to shoot a commercial spot for one of Patrick's partners, because he's been in quarantine with him and he's with him in Dallas, and we can actually get that done. So it's been unique for us because we've kind of built this platform for Patrick really to maximize his time. And right now, he's enjoying this downtime right now, of course, but certainly he would have loved to have been at the Masters and those events, we'll have to circle back to in years ahead. But the partner activations being something that I, immediately, once things closed down, I immediately contacted all of our partners and said, this is where Patrick is. These are our resources. Here are a few ideas and how I think we can still fulfill our partnerships. Let's talk. So it's been, it's just been a matter of a lot of communication. I'm personally busier than ever. Some of my nights don't close until 11 p.m. And we just had a virtual shoot that we were supposed to be doing on Saturday quickly get rearranged to be on Thursday because of a rain out. So there's lots of challenges, but being quick on our feet is certainly helpful right now.
We'll come to the specifics of the type of activity that you have been able to do about these shoots, basically, and what they look like. But Kevin, I want to come to you and ask you about the work that you do at Facebook and Instagram. You're the director of sports partnerships for teams and athletes there. Talk us through how working with teams and athletes has changed for you over the last couple of months. I imagine, although I'm sure it's not your specific job, Kevin, that you have been receiving a fair few panicked phone calls asking for tech support.
Yeah, it's definitely been an interesting time. We the work we typically do at Facebook and Instagram within the entire kind of sports ecosystem is we're essentially free consultants for all things Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger, Oculus, the entire family of Facebook products. And we work collaboratively through teams and leagues and media companies and digital publishers and athletes themselves and people who work with athletes like Jacqueline extremely closely. We try to build up these partnerships, in which case we are helping them achieve whatever they set out to achieve, whether it's audience development or business results or sponsorship for teams, helping them sell tickets, all through the mechanism of using our platforms to their best extent. The other thing I would say is, and how it's changed in the panic phone calls for us right now, most of us on our team came from the industry. We either worked for a team, an agency, a league. Myself, I worked for the Golden State Warriors for 11 years before Facebook. So for us, it's having that kind of extreme empathy right now for what the industry is going through, and really listening. The biggest part of our job right now is listening, and sometimes that's tech support for our platforms. What's been interesting with athletes is a lot of them are they're at home, they're using Facebook and Instagram, and they're used to using these tools, but now they're becoming power users, which has been amazing to see, leveraging our tools in new and creative ways. Doing it themselves and getting creative in ways that I think that's been one of the biggest bright spots for us, is seeing them use tools like Instagram Live to both entertain, but also to inform and support. And one of the biggest changes, I think, for us in this period has been seeing and supporting and working with athletes in how they are basically using their platforms and their audience to step up and inform people, to help support, whether it's through fundraisers or charities, or supporting information that's coming from the WHO and the CDC. One of the first things we did was work to find athlete ambassadors to share some of that information. And Patrick actually was one of the first athletes we turned to, and he immediately stepped up. And I don't know if Jacqueline wants to talk about that, but that's something that has changed, but has been also really inspiring for us to see take place.
Yeah,
I'll definitely tap into that, because going back to the partner activations, immediately when things shut down and when we realized that this was going to last for a while, the partner requests start flowing in, and a number of different messaging several partners trying to get the same message across. And so it's my job as an agent to understand what everyone's goals are and how we can bring that into Patrick's messaging. And what I found was everybody was pretty much wanting to say the same thing. We're with you, stay home, wash your hands, social distance. And so what we found, when Kevin's team at Facebook came to us and said, look, we're looking for official ambassadors for the World Health Organization, to me, that was a no-brainer, and to Patrick as well, because at the end of the day, that's who we need to be listening to, and that's who's going to get the immediate direct messaging across. So it was a no-brainer for Patrick, and he immediately signed on, and we kind of let all of our partners know, like, hey, this is what we're doing. Patrick is doing his part, and we're working with our partners at Facebook to make sure that he is one of the first to get all the exact messaging out, as they need it. So that was super helpful for us, because, obviously we all want to get the same messaging across, and to bring it all under one umbrella and bring it to the same place. And we're all just trying to do our part. We found that was most beneficial. The most efficient way to use Patrick's time and energy was through partnering with Facebook for the World Health Organization ambassadorship.
Kevin, coming back to specific kind of athlete activity on Facebook and on Instagram, give us a couple of examples from what you've seen, what your team has helped with, of things that have really worked, things that have really hit home and really generated serious amounts of engagement. And then I think it's always nice to get the other side of the coin as well. If you could pick out something that hasn't quite hit the mark as well, and maybe explain the reasons why.
Sure. I think the biggest thing is hearkening back to what I just spoke about with the supporting and informing. Right away, athletes were stepping up in creating fundraisers on Facebook, or supporting their local communities, or supporting their local arena workers, and using their platforms to share that information and encourage others to do the same thing. But someone who has really stepped up is Stephen Curry, someone we work with extremely closely. He's done everything from started a Facebook fundraiser that generated more than $160,000. He's created a series of different content around the WHO guidance. But one of the biggest examples is he actually had an Instagram live session with Dr. Fauci for 30 minutes, broadcasting to his entire Instagram audience. And for Dr. Fauci, and it was a chance to get in front of an audience that maybe he wasn't reaching before. And Stefan really feels an obligation to do that right now. So things like that, I think, and Instagram Live in general. We've seen Sue Bird and Megan Rapinoe. They have now a weekly show on Instagram Live where they're number one, supporting and connecting with their fans, but also they're having fun, and they're showing that in these times, like, we can also have fun with each other. We can connect with our fans. We can connect with other public figures. And so things like that have been really inspiring to see, again, the creativity, but also the ability to both inform and entertain. As far as things that aren't hitting the mark or aren't going as well, I think it's just we're now, 2+ months into this. And so there was a burst of creativity and ideas, everything from live Q&As to archival content, especially with teams tapping into their archives, which has been a lot of fun. And even, on platforms like ESPN, showing The Last Dance has been amazing for sports fans to get our fix in that way. But also, I think everybody's thinking, okay, well, we might have several more months of this. What what's next? And I think right now we're in that period where everybody's trying to tap into that. What is next, and how do we continue this creativity? How do we come up with new and fresh ideas? So that's probably the biggest challenge that we're going through right now. And ideally, what athletes have especially shown is that they have these massive audiences. They can go direct to these people and connect in so many different ways. And so we're hoping that continues not only during this period where we're trying to figure out what's next, but even out, beyond this when we do come out of it.
And Jacqueline, Kevin talks about being cheered to see athletes move from just engaging with the platforms to becoming power users, which is a term I like. Have any of your athletes become power users? And how do you see the way that Patrick, for example, engages with fans? Do you see that changing in the long term? Do you think this period will leave a real lasting legacy?
Yeah, I think it's certain. I like the term power users also, but I like to think that my clients are power users even before this pandemic. And that's by craft. They've truly built their own audience to make their time more efficient and to actually, to own their brand. And that's something that I preach daily to them, and I'm constantly sending different content and opportunities for them to engage in, and they're going to pick and choose what feels most natural to them. Julian Edelman being one client and Patrick Mahomes being the other, they have two very different strategies. Julian Edelman, on one hand, is much more open to reacting to every single moment that's happening, whether it be the Tom Brady signing or whether it be a holiday or a new merch drop that he has. He is so quick to act, and he has a full team that works with him in Boston and producing content. So that's incredible. And then Patrick, on the other hand, he's much more selective about his content. And again, that's by craft. So I think, during this time, Patrick has continued to be selective, but I do think that that's what his audience loves about him. And we're not shoving content down their throat nonstop. And so there's still that genuine excitement about a post from him. Certainly we did a IG live for the first time with him and Kirk Herbstreit, which was incredible. And it's something I was really excited about and how it went, because yes, it was much of an interview, but we called it a happy hour with a partner. But Kirk was just, talking with him and asking him how things are going. And we could have easily done this, on ESPN. We could have easily done it in a broadcast with the number of requests that he got, but he wanted to own that story and he wanted to own that interview. And that's why we had it live on his IG live. Fans loved it. I got so much feedback immediately about, how cool Patrick was and how authentic he was. And to see him at his house, just talking with Kirk, he still nailed him with some hard hitting reporter questions, but Patrick was authentic to himself and owned it. But I would say that, it's a unique time right now for sure. But I think Patrick and Julian have truly built out this platform and built their audience, and they've stuck with us even through all this. I think some people have started to see fall off if they're not seeing, if players are going completely rogue and just not posting at all, which it is hard when you don't have content. And that's the struggle I get from athletes is, well, I'm not doing anything, or I'm not at the gym, or I'm not at events, and I don't have, these professional photos being taken, and we don't exactly know what to post. And I'm like, this is the time where people feel like they are just like these athletes because they're doing the at-home workouts, and they are just like you, having to wear a mask and not going to the gym and not traveling and not going and sitting courtside. So I truly think that this is like such an opportunity for athletes to engage with their audience because they feel just like them. Like, hey, I'm in this with you. We're in the same boat. Let's talk about it.
And we've probably got time for one more sentence, just a sentence from you, Kevin, on what you anticipate the lasting legacy of this period being in terms of athletes and teams communicating with their fans.
Yeah, I mean, what Jacqueline said, I would echo all of that. I mean, we've seen incredible creativity. Being ready for the moment is something we talk about a lot, and that it goes for whether you're an athlete, a team, a league. Being ready, usually that means winning the Super Bowl, which I think Patrick was ready for that moment in terms of the content he created. But also means in situations like this, being ready to seize that moment with creativity and innovation and the ability to help the outside world and inspire the outside world. And I think that's going to be the lasting legacy of this, is all of us coming together in the sports world, seeing how critical sports are to local communities, to bringing friends and family together, to having a shared experience. And in this moment, athletes are stepping up in so many different ways to, one, identify themselves as they are human beings as well. There's an ability to connect directly with their fans, directly with other public figures for good, in the means of social good. And I think that's going to be one of the lasting legacies of this time.
It is a sentence. It's a long sentence, but I'll take that as one sentence. Kevin Cote and Jacqueline Dahl, thank you very much indeed.